All right, let me be real with you. I have a new EDC addiction and this one has kind of gotten out of hand. Not as bad as my knives. I've amassed a ton of watches within the last 6 months, so I guess I wanted to make this video to share with you guys my progress. I am still definitely a noob when it comes to timepieces and watches, so bear with me. And for all of you keyboard warriors out there, this is not a minimalist collection whatsoever. So I wanted to address that right now. There's just a bunch of watches in front of me and we'll get through this as quickly as possible. Of course, this video is brought to you by House of Blades, more on that later, and if you enjoy EDC content, then feel free to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell icon now. So I haven't actually counted the amount of watches I have in front of me. We're gonna figure that out together, but before I show you all these watches, I actually got in a special package from Boulder Supply. They make some really cool watches, but let's go ahead and unbox this real quick and see what they've sent out. I guess this is gonna be a couple watches? I'm not sure, but oh my gosh. Okay, so we got that one. That one, don't need this. And it looks like we've got two different models. We've got a Safari GMT and then the Expedition Enigmith Sahara in green. Let's go ahead and open up the Safari GMT. And of course, Boulder Supply always adds in a really cool Pelican style type of case. I'll put this one to the side for a second and let's get into this and see what we've got. Bam, and oh, baby. What are we even looking at here? Oh my goodness. So here's a closer look of the Safari GMT Banff. It's sporting an NH34 GMT automatic movement, a steel case along with a steel bracelet. And then it does have a crystal case back so that way you can actually see the movement. I'll have to unwrap this and give it some wrist time here and you guys might see that in a future video. Next up we have the Expedition Enigmith Senahara, I believe. It's in green and let's open this up. And of course this one is also in a really nice case. Let's pop these open and take a look at this watch and ooh, yeah, this one's more my style. Now this has a Miyota 9039 automatic movement and it's a high beat movement, so that means that the seconds hand is gonna just be really smooth sweeping. That green dial is absolutely gorgeous and I'm actually really digging this satin finish that they've got on the stainless steel case. In terms of the case back, this is a sapphire crystal and my god. And again, I'll have to give this some wrist time and you guys will likely see a video on this one in the future as well. Now that we got those out of the way, let's talk about my GShocks. I have a ton of different GShocks and I started watch collecting with GShocks, I guess. A lot of people say that these are god tier. I didn't even watch reviews or anything like that on GShocks back in the day, but let's start off with my very first one and it's gonna be this gold and black one that I purchased when I was like 12 or 13 years old. This thing has seen better days and it doesn't even have a charge anymore. I should probably look into replacing the battery on this, but yeah, this is my very first GShock, or I guess official watch. Moving on is gonna be my all gray GShock, nothing super fancy. I mean, these are just super functional watches and I like the color that they provide. And after that is going to be my most worn GShock and it's going to be this matte black variant. I probably wore this thing 2 to 3 years straight just because I really like that black aesthetic. Next up is going to be my loudest GShock and it's going to be this red one with a crazy pattern going through it. And honestly, this is a little bit too loud for me. I got this when I was like, what, 16 years old or something like that, wore it in high school and that's pretty much it. It hasn't really seen a ton of wrist time just because of its color, I guess. Then we have my first solar GShock and this one is in black and white. This is actually a gift for one of my ex-girlfriends, so I don't really wear this a ton, but when I was about 17 I did rock this thing quite a bit. Nowadays it doesn't even see any wrist time. It does need to get charged from the sun and that just goes to show that I don't really wear this thing. Next up to that one is going to be my gray GShock that has this kind of like camo slash marble theme going on with it, and this one did get some wrist time, but I just wasn't a huge fan of that gray tone against my skin. I'll throw this thing on like maybe 2 to 3 times a year and that's about it. Still a really cool looking piece. Next to that is going to be my white GShock and I just really like that gunmetal finish on the dial. I don't know if you guys can even see that on camera, but I love the fact that this does have your standard minute and hour hand, and then of course it does have the digital display telling you what day of the week it is as well as the time. This is probably my second to third favorite GShock aside from the black one, but you guys know I really love a monochrome aesthetic. Last but not least is my most important GShock because this is one that my grandpa got me as a gift before he passed away. Now this one does have a copper slash rose gold aesthetic to, I guess, the bezel if you want to call it that, and I only wear this GShock on special occasion if I'm attending an event or something like that. This is definitely going to go with me to my grave and I love the fact that my grandpa had the opportunity to pick up a watch for me before he passed. So those are all my GShocks and we still have quite a few to go, but before we get into that, let's give a quick word for today's sponsor. This video is brought to you by House of Blades, a close channel partner of Everyday Minimalist. Minimalist. They're a dealer located in Fort Worth, Texas, and have one of the coolest shops that I've ever had the privilege to visit. But let me tell you why you should get your next knife or any EDC item at House of Blades. First off, they stock some of the most popular brands that you may have heard of, like Benchmade, Spyderco, ZT, Kershaw, WE Knives, Chris Reeve Knives, and Koenig, and a bunch of others. The second thing is they're actually hooking us all up with a really cool discount, so if you use code EDM on checkout, that will get you 10% off your entire order. I'll leave an affiliate link in the description below. That doesn't cost you anything extra. Just click on that link and then just go browse. The third thing is, if you want to really personalize whatever products you get from House of Blades, you can. Just shoot them an email or give them a call and send over your files to them, and they can actually laser engrave whatever you want onto pretty much any product that they offer. Trust me, I've been to that laser engraving room and those lasers are absolutely insane. I absolutely love and trust House of Blades, and without them, I wouldn't be able to do what I do here on YouTube, so thank you for that. And of course, thank you to all of you guys watching this ad, but let's get back to the video. So this next part is going to include all of the watches that I've compiled within the last 6 to 8 months. I'm going to start off with the watch that really got me into it, and it's going to be this guy, the Boulder Expedition 1. This bad boy is sporting a Swiss automatic high beat movement, and for some reason, this is the watch that just really got me into it. I love the fact that it had a crystal caseback with this topographic laser etching, and then these guys were limited to 300 pieces. It originally came with a black canvas strap, but I went ahead and swapped them out for these Barton straps. I feel like these rubber straps are more convenient for my lifestyle. I'm outside all the time. As you can tell, it has a black and orange aesthetic with the seconds hand and this crown, so I decided to go with an orange and black strap. But yeah, the Expedition 1 is what really kicked off this collection. Now, after the Expedition 1, I picked up the Big Idea Design tie automatic field watch. I really like the simplicity and the look of the overall case, and the fact that it had a day date feature that just made a huge difference for me. This watch originally came with the green NATO strap, but I wanted something a little bit more flashy, so I reached out to the guys over at RZE, and they are actually the guys that helped design this specific piece. It's kind of like a collaboration between RZE watches and Big Idea Design, but they made this really cool ultra hex bracelet for it. Adding on this titanium bracelet just completely changed this watch and the overall aesthetics, and I'm really loving it. Now, after having those two watches in my possession for about a month, maybe 3 weeks or so, I just couldn't stop and I got super deep into watches. The next thing I picked up is the Boulder Voyage Mediterranean. This is actually more of a diver's watch. It does have a rotating clicking bezel, and this has a gray / yellow theme going on with it. On top of that, it did come with a stainless steel bracelet, but I found that to be a little bit too heavy for me, so I did go ahead and pick up more Barton straps for this one. It's just in all black, and I guess this is my first automatic watch with a rotating bezel. Moving forward, I was looking at super fancy watches, and I was kind of looking for a grail piece, and that would be none other than the Omega Speedmaster. I told myself, hey, after we hit 1 million subscribers, I'll actually purchase one of those, but for the time being, we had an upcoming trip down to Las Vegas, and let me tell you, they have a couple Swatch stores down there, and if you guys didn't know, Swatch and Omega made the Moon Swatch. On the first day of our trip, I picked up the Mission to Moon, and then I just fell absolutely in love with it, and then I had to get my hands on the Mission to Saturn. And speaking of that green NATO strap that was originally on this watch, I actually moved it over to the Mission to Saturn just because of that overall aesthetic. I love the orange accents along with the tan and green. It just really makes everything come together. If you guys have never handled the Moon Swatch before, the straps are absolutely horrendous, so I just grabbed this black strap off of Amazon. I don't even know what it's called anymore, but the rubber straps make it a little bit nicer. It is a little bit toyish, so I don't really wear these a ton. It's more of a novelty piece, but if I do want to go for that Speedmaster aesthetic, I will throw these on. It's just not very often. So about 2 weeks after that, I was doing even more research on watches, and I found DIY Watch Club. They actually reached out to me and wanted to send me a specific piece, and this is going to be their Sprite GMT Diver's watch. And if you guys know of DIY Watch Club, they basically send you a kit and then give you a lot of instructions so that way you can build your own watch. I thought that was an awesome idea because I wanted to learn the internals of a watch and how everything just kind of goes together. And I put this thing together after about 2 to 3 hours, I believe. I mean, I'm a complete novice and have never done anything with movements or cases or anything in terms of watches aside from swapping out straps. So this was more of a really good learning experience for me. And yeah, this is a pretty cool watch. So if you guys are trying to build your own watches, I would recommend checking out DIY Watch Club. Next up, we have my RZE Aspirare, and this is my very first RZE watch. What I really like about this specific watch is how simplistic that dial is. We've just got really simple black on white accents, and then it does also come with an interchangeable bezel. So you can change this out to white if you want to, but I decided to go with the black because it looks a lot cleaner. I also did get their Hexaflex rubber straps for this thing. And yeah, this is just gonna be a watch that's gonna be able to take a beating. Next up is a watch from Monterey Watch Company, and a bunch of my YouTuber friends have been picking up this specific brand, so I wanted to get my hands on one. And this specific model spoke to me. This is the Blackstream Adventurer. Now, what makes this super special is it only comes in at about 239 bucks. I was actually wearing this watch out and about, and I got some compliments with this specific piece, and people thought that it was similar to like a Breitling, which is just absolutely insane because this is going to be a fraction of the cost of a true Breitling. I think it's because of all the indices around that rotating bezel. I really like the overall aesthetic of this piece, and that OD green NATO strap just ties everything together. So after I got that watch, I wanted to get a watch that's going to feel a little bit more similar to that Big Idea Designs Tie Field watch. That's when I decided to actually get this watch that's on my wrist right now, and this is the RZE Resolute Super Compressor. This might be one of my most worn watches just because of the overall design. It has a high beat Miyota movement in it, and I just find this watch specifically to be extremely comfortable. Even with that titanium bracelet, this does have on the fly quick adjust, and I just absolutely dig this piece. Now moving forward, this is going to be my most expensive piece in the collection, and that is going to be the Seiko SPB 213. So I guess you can say that this is my very first Seiko. It does have that standard stainless steel Seiko bracelet, but what makes this one super cool is going to be that bezel. It actually has some hints of blue inside it. I don't know if you guys can see that. And this thing has a crazy 70-hour power reserve, so that means that I can put this thing down for 70 hours and then pick it back up and it will still keep the time. It kind of has a pearlescent dial, which just looks really nice and it gleams in the sun. I actually got this from one of my buddies in a trade, and some of my sources say that this is going to completely ruin Seikos for me because none of them compare to it. So far, this is one of my most favorite watches in the collection. All right, just a couple more, I promise. The next one is going to be the RZE Resolute, and this one has the channel colors in this teal blue. Now, I've had this Resolute for about a week and a half now, so it hasn't had a ton of wrist time, but this one is a more subtle version of the Resolute Super Compressor. I feel like if I want to be a little bit more low-key, this will be a fantastic piece. Of course, this one just needs more time, but I do count this one inside the collection. Last but not least is going to be this guy, brand new from RZE. This is the Urbanist. Now, these should be available right now if you guys are trying to get your hands on one. The cool thing is these are coming in at about $200, and it is rocking the Ultra Hex titanium case along with a solar-powered Miyota movement. This is definitely going to be a watch that doesn't get in the way because it has a smaller case. So if you're someone that likes to do a lot of urban exploring or is out in the sun a lot, this might be a really good option for you. And again, if you want a watch that isn't super cumbersome, especially if you're going to be working with your hands a lot, that smaller case size is going to come in on clutch all the time. This one hasn't had a ton of wrist time. I guess time will tell on how well this thing performs. But I guess that wraps it up. How many watches do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20, 21, 22, 23, counting my Apple Watch, but I didn't want to throw that into this video specifically just because that's not really a watch. As I said before, I'm a complete noob when it comes to watches, but I'm excited to bring you guys along my journey in terms of expanding my knowledge with these things. But if you guys want to see more watch content, hit that thumbs up button. If you guys didn't like it, then hit that thumbs down button, and I guess I'll have to make a better video next time. But aside from that, thank you guys so much for dropping by, and we'll have to catch you on the next one. Peace out.